freedom and pluralism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd also like to thank both Rui Tavares and Renate Weber for this working document as one who's participated in such exercises before. I know what these things are about, and document number 3 is no exception. It is a factual overview, well researched and complete, I have to say, on what the issues at stake were, what has been criticized, what has been subject to commentary of a less amenable nature. And therefore, we have another valuable text now at our disposal for the further considerations. I'd just like to say a few words on the framework in which we operate. Again, we know that Hungary has been engaged in a major constitutional and legislative overhaul for a number of years now, and that also the Hungarian authorities have admitted that during this major overhaul, and due to the major character and nature of this overhaul, a number of things have certainly not been accomplished in the perfect way in which we would like to see them as having been accomplished, and therefore all this is indeed work in progress for the media legislation, just as for other areas of legislation. We've been supervising this. We are still supervising this, accompanying this, just like other institutions are. Now, every time not so much we. There have been European Parliament resolutions, but there have notably been Commission initiatives, and there have been statements of fact by Council of Europe branches. Every time that such an institution has so far advanced, founded criticism of something that has been formulated and enacted in Hungary, the Hungarian authorities have followed suit. I trust that this is also an ongoing process, and that this is not going to change. A few words on content, just also to bring them in line. I see, for instance, and as these documents are not inventing things, but merely recuperating things that have been raised on other counts. I see, for instance, that we do as if it were an issue that freedom of the press is not an individual right in the original outlook of the Hungarian constitution, but is in fact more an obligation of the state. Now, I find this perfectly understandable and reasonable, I have to say. It is not freedom of the press that, as a rule, is an individual right, but freedom of expression. And as soon as we turn to the press, it seems to me much more reasonable that the state declares itself under obligation to see to it that the press is free and can act accordingly, and than to have it the other way around. Just to say, there are always appreciation elements of what is going on in Hungary in this category, just as in others, that in my humble view are somewhat beside the point. A word on constitutional court decisions. Yes, this is one area in which constitutional court decisions have taken place, and constitutional court decisions have taken place which have in fact invalidated given provisions of Hungarian legislation, just as, I'd have to remind you, the Constitutional Court recently has done a similar thing with respect to the electoral law. Now, I'm not claiming by this that the initial laws were perfect, because otherwise the Constitutional Court would not have done what it has done. I just want to raise your attention to the fact that so many times it has been insinuated that the Hungarian Constitutional Court is also deprived of freedom of expression and of freedom of means of action. I have the impression that the Hungarian Constitutional Court works, and that therefore the overall institutional setup in Hungary works, and that a constitutional court that does this kind of thing, just like other constitutional courts that do this kind of thing in other member states of the European Union, is a functioning institution, and this has nothing to do with a particularly bleak outlook in Hungary. Now, a last word on an issue which has an important part to play in this paper, and that is composition powers, appointment procedures of regulating and supervising authorities and their chief officials, notably their chairpersons. We have a similar problem in the judicial area. These problems have been raised, these problems have been addressed, and I have the definitive impression that this is again falling under the category work in progress, meaning that also on that count the Hungarian authorities are aware of the fact that it might seem to the outside world so that political appointments are taking place for political motivations, and that this is an impression that that they want to get out of the way by the means that they choose, and we'll see how effective at the end of the day their endeavours are going to be. So overall, I commend again, and I had better do so because otherwise I'd also sort of invalidate my own contribution of a couple of months ago, the factual nature of this. I repeat what I've said the last time. All these working papers are always snapshots of a situation as it appears when the authors of the working papers hand in their work. And I trust that both for OI, I believe we have planned an intermediary report. Both for that and for the definitive text, we will of course take into consideration any sort of evolution that will take place in the Hungarian landscape, so as to remain on the objective line that has been ours so far. Thank you.